Hello and welcome to Seton Hall Pirate TV's post-game coverage of the Seton Hall women's basketball team taking on the number 2 UConn Huskies. I'm Liam Plate, joined by Rony Jerez here at historic Walsh Gymnasium. The UConn Huskies getting the win here, 74-49 in a blowout. But Rony, it wasn't like that the whole way through. Seton Hall started out strong, but the real big storyline in the beginning is that graduate student guard Andra Espinoza-Hunter suspended for this game for violating team rules. Rony, she averages 18 points in the starting five. How did that affect today's game?
I mean, when you lose 18 points per game, it's almost impossible to replace. And she's the number 4 leading scorer in the Big East, so she's already one of the premier players in this Big East. And you can't replace that. Her energy was definitely missed out there, but she still was on the bench. She still was there supporting her teammates. And she was the first one out the bench out of media timeouts, giving her players timeout, high fives, and supporting her teammates. So that's good to see that there's no animosity there. But it really was a huge difference in this game not having Andra Espinoza-Hunter, one of the electricity rods of this team, on the floor, not be out there, especially against the team that she formerly played with. So that storyline came out just hours before this game happened, and it took so many people by surprise. It took Coach Ariema by surprise, and just the Pirate faithful as well. So her presence was definitely missed out in this sellout crowd.
Yeah, it was definitely crazy because we got that press release at about 2:45 p.m. for a 7 p.m. tip. It was definitely a surprise, and we actually got a chance to talk to both coaches, Coach Bozzella and Coach Ariema, about Andra's presence and her absence in today's game. And so here's a look.
Coach, how difficult is it to replace 18 points per game?
It's impossible. I told her. If you act like a jackass, like she did, and then the rest of the team suffered. I told her right in front of the team again. You have a standard to uphold at Seton Hall. Whether we're at Seton Hall or on the road traveling, you follow that standard, you act accordingly, and I don't give a playing UConn, Baylor, Tennessee, whoever we play next, your ass is going to sit on the bench. And if it happens again, your ass is going to go home. At the end of the day, we have a standard in our program. Yeah, if we had her, it would have helped. You're damn right. She scores 20 points a game. I told her, congratulations, you're Twitter famous and you're on the bottom line of ESPN. If you're happy about why you're Twitter famous and on the bottom line of ESPN, then you have a big problem on your hands. So it's not happening again. I made that clear.
Well, we found out like everybody else found out. When we got out there, did it change our game plan? Not really. I mean, we kind of go into playing Seton Hall with the same, same idea, what they're going to do offensively, where they're trying to go with the ball. They got a dynamic point guard, who creates and who's really difficult to guard. So that didn't change. They still were able to do that. So it didn't change that much. It took away one of their shooters, so obviously they went at full strength. That would have been one more player you really have to guard. So it hurt. Obviously, it hurt Tony's team, not having her.
Now, Rony, let's take a look at the first half there. Seton Hall was up 17-16 after that first quarter and had a great first quarter from Maya Jackson, specifically 2 threes, finished this quarter with 8 points. But, of course, Paige Buekers came out strong in that one, finishing the first quarter with 9 points. What did you really see in that first quarter?
Well, I saw a firepower by Maya Jackson. She came out electric, and they really fed her the ball. They were looking for her early on, and she was hitting her shots, 2 threes, as you said, 8 points. And she looked like she was going to have a good game. She looked like she was going to step up and fill that void that Andra was leaving. And then we also saw a great play from Lauren Park Lane, setting her up, finding her consistently in the corners and trying to get her early on going. Paige Buekers, the star of the country, basically, she was looking a little bit slow to start off this game. She did finish with 9 points, as she really kicked it up at the end of that first quarter. So after that, then you kind of woken up the beast. But the Pirates really contained everyone else besides that. Paige Buekers was the only one really scoring for that UConn team. As you said, 17-16 after that first quarter. Maya Jackson and Lauren Park Lane were the story, but then it kind of really got derailed after that.
Yeah, and it definitely did as UConn did what UConn does. This typically seems to be a theme between UConn and Seton Hall. Seton Hall can stick with the Huskies throughout the first quarter, make it competitive, but then by either the second or third quarter, UConn seems to pull away, and that's exactly what happened tonight in the second quarter, as UConn played phenomenally on offense, moving the ball very well, and playing great on defense too, as the Pirates only had 6 points. Rony, do you want to talk about talk about UConn's defense at all?
I mean, I feel like UConn's defense really helped this offense as they went on a couple 15-2 runs in that second quarter, and the Pirates' scoring droughts were just all over the place. They had a couple 3-minute scoring droughts, maybe scored a bucket, then another 2 minutes. So scoring was really difficult for the Pirates in this one. The Huskies really anchored down on defense. They forced them to shoot a lot of threes, and they could not shoot threes to save their lives. In that first half, they only shot 20% from the three-point line, and on field goal percentage was only 24. So they could not buy a basket in that first half. And then all the other players from the UConn team woke up. We saw Chrissy Williams wake up. We saw Nelson-Ododa get to her spots and really pound them in the paint. So with using that 6'5" frame, they really took advantage of that. And then Paige Buekers just kept going as she finished with about 17 points in that first half as well. So it was great showing from the UConn team, offensively and defensively, to shut down the Pirates.
Yeah, one thing about UConn's defense is they're communicating very well, and they're getting their hands out. They're able to switch very well. They can switch very well. And we actually got a chance to talk to point guard Paige Buekers after the game about their defense in that second quarter and how they're able to limit the Pirates. So here's a look at that one. Paige, you guys only allowed 6 points in the second quarter. What was the biggest difference in that quarter defensively?
Keeping them out of the paint, making sure that every shot they took was contested. I know we do a lot better defensively when we have a hand in their face when they're shooting, and then crashing the defensive boards and make sure they didn't get any second opportunities.
So going into the second half, it was 39-23 with the Huskies in the lead, and that second half, really, it was just another story of UConn kind of pulling ahead. But Seton Hall did kind of make it close there in the early fourth quarter range. I think they cut it down to at least maybe 12. I believe it was 55-43. They were getting close, and let's just say that fourth quarter, very physical and, in a word, gritty. I would say it's just classic Big East basketball. Do you want let's hear your thoughts about that second half?
I mean, it was definitely classic Big East basketball, as we'll get into a little bit later, but the crowd really got into it, as well as the Pirates were playing some lockdown defense as well. It was getting chippy, diving on the floor, bodies on the floor, some bloody noses. We saw Paige Buekers get a bloody nose, and we had a long timeout because of that. But, I mean, UConn just really went ahead, and they really amounted a very big lead. But the Pirates, they were able to chip back a little bit because of the great scoring of Lauren Park-Lane. She finished with 20 points as she shined against Paige Buekers. She went really toe-to-toe. She could have even had more points, but missed a couple of late free throws at the end. But Lauren Park-Lane played absolutely outstanding, but didn't really see much help from the rest of the team. There was only 4 players on the Pirates scored today, which says a lot about the defense of the Huskies and the struggles on offense that the Pirates had. And we can even count Katie Armstrong only had 2 points. So realistically, only for the majority of the game, only 3 players scored for the Pirates. And you're not going to win a lot of basketball games like that, especially when you're missing a big player on Andra Espinoza-Hunter. But the bench, the reserves, they got to really put in their part. We saw no points from Kayla Harris. We saw no points from Maya Bembry. So these are really big minutes played from the reserves, and they could not convert at all on the offensive end. So you're not going to really see much success with that happening there.
Yeah, and that's the one thing UConn was able to do very well. They were able to limit Seton Hall and kind of forcing these 3 players to win the game. It's like you're forcing 3 players to beat you. And it definitely worked. They did a great job containing everyone else. And, Lauren Park-Lane with 20 points, Maya Jackson with 14, and Sydney Cooks with 13. She played fantastic as well. But I think the biggest difference that really got Seton Hall back in that game, and you mentioned it, Ronnie, was the crowd. There was a sellout crowd here at Walsh Gymnasium. They really got into it. And you heard "Let's Go Pirates" chants, defense chants all the time. And even Paige Buekers in the post-game presser, she mentioned how she got heckled a little bit by some Pirates fans, how she needed more Gatorade when they were losing early in the first quarter. But, last year they didn't have any fans here. What do you think? Do you think how big of a difference does that make for this Pirates team?
I mean, it's a huge difference. This Walsh Gymnasium was really clamoring for a UConn return, and we saw that sellout crowd. It was absolutely electric. Fans from both teams showed out. UConn had a really nice showing as well, so they traveled up down here as well. But the electricity was there. You could feel it. It was palpable. And Lauren Park-Lane also said in the press conference how she really loved seeing this packed Walsh Gymnasium, and this is what Lauren Park-Lane had to say about this one.
How was the crowd tonight?
Oh my gosh, it was incredible. I love Walsh. I love when we play UConn and DePaul and it sells out, and it's just every seat's filled, and it's so loud. It gets so loud in there. It's like, it's crazy. But I love it. The crowd was amazing tonight. You know, the support we had was amazing. I had like all of my family here, so I could hear them from the crowd. So it was just, I loved it. I love the crowd tonight.
So number 2 UConn did come out on top with a win of 74-49, the score there. And, you know, Ronnie, it is a blowout loss, but you're playing one of the top 2 teams in the country. What's your final takeaway from this one?
You can't hold your head too low on this one. It is number 2, but I'm sure this team really wanted to compete harder. After that first quarter, it kind of looked like it was going to be a much closer game, but when you have one of your star players out, it's really tough, and when you only have 3 players score, it's really tough. So there's a lot of factors into this one. It's really a shame to see such a blowout loss here at home at Walsh, but what you got to do is you got to move on, and you got to really try to get more players involved next time around. I believe next time around against St. John's, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but this team has got to really batter down. It was the first Big East matchup, first Big East game. Very tough to play the number 2 team in the country, so we'll definitely see how the Pirates will come out next time around.
Yeah, definitely be interesting. And yeah, this is one of those games you kind of be upset about till midnight and then move on.
Yep.
First conference game, good to be back for the Pirates, I'm sure. But they do take on St. John's in Queens, New York at Carnesecca Arena Sunday afternoon. And Ronnie, I think the biggest question is, how do you just get blown out on a Friday night? You got to turn around in 2 days. I mean, how do you do that as a basketball player?
You play the second best team in the country with all those trees and Paige Buekers. Moving on, that next opponent might be a little bit easier, but it's still St. John's is still a Big East opponent. You're gonna definitely try to play them out, play better, and have that really that short memory coming into Sunday. Quick turnaround and just play better.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be something the Pirates are going to try to do this Sunday against St. John's. But once again, you have the final score here: number 2 UConn 74 and the Seton Hall Pirates 49. That'll do it for Seton Hall Pirate TV's post-game coverage of this matchup. For Ronny Jerez, I'm Liam Plate. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.